right. Welcome to the Rebirth Sessions. So just adjusting the light a little bit. Yeah, my face disappears into the background. That's all right. A talking sky. So great that you're here. Wonderful that we can continue with the Rebirth Sessions, and it is like a continuous, a continuous process, you could almost say, but it's more like, oh, here it is again, here it is again, here it is again, here it is again. And that makes it that you have to trust your intuition, that you have to trust the flow that is flowing through you, just in order to share something, to come up with something. It's like, yeah, that's going to be given. Perfect timing, for sure. And if you're inspired to make something, you do something. You do that too, or not. But it's more like, in fact, we come to the place where we see that I'm not doing anything. It's just falling into place. If I'm concerned about it, I'm in fact holding it back and delaying the process and thinking that I can't do it. And that's right, you can't do it. So the relaxation that takes place when you actually see that you can't do it is great. And you can use that totally to completely trust what is happening on a moment-by-moment basis, because you start to remember more and more and more that there literally is nothing but the love of God. So it cannot be anything else. I might be wrong in looking at it, but in experiencing it, I might be confused about what I'm experiencing, and that I think something is wrong or something like that, but that would be impossible. So it's like I must have misinterpreted it, and that's surely going on many times. So that's why in the process, in the Rebirth Sessions, there's only so much you can do. And then you see that, oh, that wasn't necessary either. But you will have to do it first before you discover that. And so today we look at that a little bit. So like, okay, what is effortlessness? What can I do? What do I need to do? And what is it that I don't have to do? What is it that I cannot do because it's going to be given to me? Well, here's like essential ingredients of the rebirth, say, mechanism, or the rebirth occurrence, better word. It's an occurrence. It is not a doing, it's an occurrence. Now this is great, because we have metaphors popping into our minds with the idea of the butterfly and the caterpillar. Like the butterfly doesn't see itself as an say, caterpillar, because it's like, well, I can fly. I'm not crawling the earth. I can fly. I'm a butterfly. No, it had nothing to do with that thing that tries to walk around here. No, that's not me. No, I'm flying. See, and we used this example before, but it's a beautiful metaphor for the metamorphosis that is taking place in you. And so it's like, once you recognize that you can fly in that sense, once you recognize that, you see that there's no recollection of what happened before. And I mean this in a very literal way. It's pretty amazing. So speaking from my own experience, it was for me the first time I experienced this, say, intensively, was when this happened. I went to a city that I had many say, memories in, but I had underwent say, a deep experience of metamorphosis, you could say. I discovered who I am. So walking back into the town that I had so many memories, I saw that, yeah, I recognized the shapes, absolutely, but I've no recollection of any kind of intensity or any kind of memory that was there before, that would hinder me, or that would, yeah, who knows what it did with me. But I had no recollection of that anymore. It's like, even in this world, when you walk through it, with your new mind, you start not to recognize things. It's like, yeah, I know the buildings and all this. It's like, oh, but it doesn't have the charge that it had before. And so with every aspect of your life, it's like, it's not findable in the form. All the charges, all the value that I've given it is literally has disappeared. And I don't have to put it back there. Like, it can be new all the time now. Now, this is really the process I'm speaking of. Like, the occurrence that takes place erases literally the past memories, the things that were so difficult, and the things that were you carried with you, and you tried to get rid of, tried to forgive, tried to do this with and that with. No, it was just this sudden occurrence of turning from caterpillar into butterfly. It was as simple as that. It's like that took care of the whole thing. And was that by my doing? No, not at all. So I have no investment in that either. So that is how much you can do. Was it effortless? Yeah, absolutely. It was totally effortless. It just asked that I gave up the world that I saw before. I gave up the world that I knew from before. That was all. And giving up was more like in an instant. I didn't want anything else than the peace of God. Then I say, in fact, let the love of God be total. And disappearing into that for a moment, seeing that literally changed my whole world. Now this has become like a daily practice. So it's like, yeah, now I have no idea how to do this. Okay, rebirth sessions. I I recognize from myself, which is really interesting too, is like I recognize from myself that I keep coming back to the email with the assignments. Like I have no recollection of what I put in there, and so on and so forth. It's like there's no link of memory to the past. It's gone. It's over. So if I invest in remembering it and bringing it into place and organizing it in my sequential thinking, I will have to very actively put it there. Otherwise it will fall apart and will just disappear. And why would you want to hold on to it? To establish yourself as this thing from the past that is still surviving into the present, so to speak, with hopefully some more future. See, that whole story went away. It disappeared. And there's no tomorrow. There's no, this day well lived is everything. It is, if I'm totally present here, it's all that I can do. What do I need to do for that? Let everything else go. Is that a doing? No, it's a letting go. So this is in a nutshell, in fact, what is given us in so many ways. I'm going to bring up one of the expressions of our dear friend, Joel Goldsmith. He describes it also in a very specific way. I have two things I want to share from him. So here, Joel says it this way. It's the same story, but it's interesting to hear someone else say it, like in his own way of expressing it, like he does express things. But I think, if I think that my life is dependent upon my efforts, my physical strength, my mental power, my education, or my understanding, then I'm limiting myself to my human endowments. Well, here it is, written in black, brown and white. If I think that my life is dependent upon my efforts, my physical strength, my power, my education, my understanding, all of this, then I'm limiting myself to my human endowments. Okay, here's the caterpillar moment turning into a butterfly. The very moment, however, that I begin to acknowledge that he that is within me is greater than he that is in the world, the minute I begin to acknowledge that he performeth that which is given me to do, the minute I acknowledge that there's a he, in other words, that there is an infinite source, whether we call it he, she, or it, the moment I acknowledge that my life is the product of something with a capital S, greater than my human selfhood, then I set about making contact with it. See what needs to happen for that? Well, is that a doing? No. It is a letting go. So the very moment, however, that I begin to acknowledge that he that is within me is greater than the he that is in the world, the moment I begin to acknowledge that he performeth that which is given me to do, the moment I acknowledge that there's a he, in other words, that there's an infinite source, whether we call it he, she, or it, the moment I acknowledge that my life is the product of something greater than my human selfhood, then I set about making contact with it. So this is a great way of expressing that. I love it. So thank you, Joel, for that. Now I gotta go to my other sheet here. So we're staying with the expressions of the infinite way, just that came to me, so that's why I use it. Do I need to know why I share from the infinite way or not? No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It was given me. I trust that. So the message of the infinite way is divided into two parts. Now what is that? The first part is found in the statement, I and my Father are one. And therefore, all that the Father has is mine. That means that our only existence is as an outlet for an infinite storehouse which is invisible, and that it is possible for us to be consciously one with this infinite storehouse, this fountain of good. I and my Father are one. This first part. This is the first part of the message of the infinite way. Second part, here it comes. The second part of the message of the infinite way deals with how to attain conscious union with that infinite storehouse. Through studying the correct letter of truth, seeing it with the eyes and hearing it with the ears, meditating upon the word, cogitating, contemplating, abiding in the word and letting it abide in us. And specifically, knowing the truth in our treatment work, eventually there comes that inner stillness in which we no longer declare the word, no longer pray, treat or affirm, but are brought to a state of silence in which we can be receptive and feel its flow. That is the ultimate of the message. So this is all from the Heart of Mysticism, chapter 11. So the second part of the message of the infinite way deals with how to attain conscious union with that infinite storehouse. Through study, meditating, contemplating, cogitating, abiding in the word, letting the word abide in us, knowing the truth in our treatment work. And what was that again? Yeah, stepping back, allowing the healing to occur to us, which takes the so-called patient with that. And eventually there comes that inner stillness in which we no longer declare the word, no longer pray, treat or affirm, but are brought to a state of silence in which we can be receptive and feel its flow. Is that a doing? No, it's not. It's being brought to a state of silence in which we can be receptive and feel its flow. That's the ultimate of the message. Like, is this full of effort then? If this is so-called spiritual path, then is it with effort? Now that's the interesting part, because in fact the caterpillar will say, oh yeah, that's a lot of effort. There are a lot of obstacles, so many obstacles. There's like straws of grass, there's mud, there's a river that you sometimes need to cross, you fall off a leaf, you fall down to the ground, oh my God, it is quite something. Unbelievable. This is what the caterpillar says. Yeah, it's hard. It's a lot of work. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. See, this is the caterpillar. Now here's the butterfly. It's easy. I have no idea how it happened, but it happened. I have no idea what happened before. I don't remember a thing about it. It is just whatever that is. I have no idea how that happened. It was absolutely not of my doing. That what I know for sure. Absolutely, I know that for sure. It is absolutely, totally, only by grace that it happened. And I have never, ever experienced this in such freedom. I never thought it would be possible to have no obstacles at all. It is just that I'm being taken from one source of nectar to another source of nectar. Like as a natural flow, the wind brings me there. The most beautiful places I land, and there is an infinite storehouse I'm being brought to in the right time, in the right place. The ultimate light is shining on me. It's carrying me everywhere. It's an amazing experience. Words fail entirely. See what the difference is? Like, are they the same thing? No. Does the caterpillar know about this flying? No, absolutely not. Does the butterfly know anything about crawling in the mud? No. It doesn't know. So this is like the thing, like Joel expresses in the last sentence. When you are being brought to this calmness, this stillness, where you just become receptive and say, breathe in fact, the reassurance continuously. What could you possibly miss in this? What could possibly go wrong with this? I had nothing to do with it. I recognize that I was, like, nothing happened. I always was here. I have no recollection of anything else. So this is looking back at your own moment in time, moment in the process. You could say it's like, well, don't forget the caterpillar and the butterfly. Like, don't forget the story, because it's like, this is so great. It is so perfectly fitting. You cannot imagine that it would be effortless if you're a caterpillar, and you cannot imagine that it would take any effort if you're a butterfly. And you're both. You're all of it. So that's very interesting. Yeah. So in order to say being brought to the place of this light, say the world of the butterfly, we could say, staying in this poetic expression. So it's like there's another master that comes to us. So this is Master Sri Aurobindo. He's from India. He wrote a lot of poetry, and I always love to use it because the expressions of him are also very poetic and very beautiful. And I have a deep reconnection and recognition with it at the same time. So absolutely beautiful. I'm sharing that with you right now, and it's a meditation. So you will hear it, an expression, 2 minutes or so. There will be silence. Michelle will share it too, and so on. You know the drill, you could say. So it's a meditation. So why do I do this way? Because I really discovered like there's so much, say, that's being given in silence, in stepping back, in letting go, in all this non-effort. That really there's the great gift to be given, you could say. Rightfully yours, always. Only waiting for your recognition and acceptance. Finding the soul. Our words become the natural speech of truth. Each thought a ripple on a sea of light. Then sin and virtue leave the cosmic lists. They struggle no more in our delivered hearts. Our acts chime with God's simple, natural good, or serve the rule of a supernal right. All moods unlovely, evil and untrue, forsake their stations in fierce disarray, and hide their shame in the subconscient dusk. Then lifts the mind a cry of victory. O soul, my soul, we have created heaven. Within we have found the kingdom here of God, his fortress built in a loud ignorant world. Our life is entrenched between two rivers of light. We have turned space into a gulf of peace and made the body a capital of bliss. What more if more must still be done in the slow process of the evolving spirit, in the brief state between a death and birth. A first perfection stage is reached at last. Out of the wood and stone of our nature's stuff, a temple is shaped where high gods could live. Even if the struggling world is left outside, one man's perfection still can save the world. There is a new proximity to the skies, a first betrothal of the earth to heaven, a deep concordat between truth and life. A camp of God is pitched in human time.
Trouver l'âme. Nos paroles deviennent le discours naturel de la vérité. Chaque pensée est une ondulation sur un océan de lumière. Alors, le péché et la vertu quittent les listes cosmiques. Ils ne luttent plus dans nos cœurs délivrés. Nos actes concordent avec le simple naturel de Dieu, ou servent la règle d'un droit divin. Toutes les humeurs désagréables, mauvaises et fausses abandonnent leur station dans un désarroi féroce et cachent leur honte dans le crépuscule du subconscient. Alors, élève l'esprit un cri de victoire. Ô âme, mon âme, nous avons créé le paradis. À l'intérieur, nous avons trouvé ici le royaume de Dieu. Sa forteresse, construite dans un monde bruyant et ignorant. Notre vie est retranchée entre deux fleuves de lumière. Nous avons transformé l'espace en un golfe de paix et fait du corps un capitole de félicité. Que faire de plus? Que de plus s'il faut encore faire davantage? Devant le lent processus de l'évolution de l'esprit, dans le bref stade entre la mort et la naissance, un premier stade de perfection est enfin atteint. À partir du bois et de la pierre, issus de notre nature, un temple est façonné où les dieux supérieurs pourraient vivre même si le monde en difficulté est laissé à l'écart. La perfection d'un seul homme peut encore sauver le monde. On y gagne une nouvelle proximité avec le ciel, des premiers fiançailles de la terre avec le ciel, un profond concordat entre la vérité et la vie. Un camp de Dieu est dressé à l'époque humaine.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining in this. So that's great to hear this in all kinds of ways, because it's all in fact telling you the same thing, and with whatever you have the recognition or the resonance, you could say, whatever reminds you of the fact that you're the butterfly, it really doesn't matter. And so thank you